My name is Emerson Terry, and I'm a retired artist. I was born in Columbus, Ohio, back in 1925. I'm now 90 years old. And actually, I was more or less raised in California because I was drafted into the service when I was 18, sent off to Alaska in the Navy. And when I came back, I stayed in Columbus for about, maybe a month or so. Took off and went to Detroit and lived in Detroit, Michigan, worked on the assembly line for a while. And then after working on the assembly line in Detroit, my brother and I decided we'd come to California. So that's how I wound up in California in 1947. 1947. I moved to Pasadena after I graduated from Art Center College of Design in Los Angeles. You know, Art Center, that's up on the hill here in Pasadena, started out over in Los Angeles. And it was on West 3rd Street where I attended and studied to be an illustrator and designer, everything, you know. And took painting classes and drawing classes and all of this different things that were back in 1948, I guess it was, 47, 48. I played basketball for Los Angeles City College. And the strange thing was, we came here to Pasadena to play one night. We parked 2 doors down from here and walked across the street to the gymnasium to play basketball. Never thought at the time that all of a sudden I'd be living here in Pasadena, and especially almost right where we parked the car to go play basketball. One of those strange incidents. I've been in the advertising field for over 50 or 60 years. I so long until I can't even remember how long it is. I just say many years. I started doing the paintings for a couple of reasons. During the 1960s, to document some of the civil rights movement. I couldn't be there for the demonstrations because I had a family to raise, but I could contribute by documenting in paintings some of the incidents that happened during that time. And so I have a series of documentary paintings. At a later date, one of my daughters, who was in elementary school, decided that she wanted to do a book report. And I gave her a book called Negro Cowboys to write the report out of. And in the process, she wrote a good story, I think. And when she submitted to her teacher, right up here in Altadena at Jackson Elementary School, I'm pointing north, that is, the teacher said, "Well, it was a very nice paper that you wrote, but I'm so sorry to tell you there's no such thing as Negro cowboys." And this is 1976, somewhere around 1975, I guess. And my daughter was very upset over this. So when she came back and told me about it, it set my mind to thinking, this needs to be documented. But I was so busy with advertising work until it was very difficult to find the time, but I did find the time. I made a painting. I made one painting. And that one painting is at the back of the hall. It was an individual called Bose Eichhardt. And when you edit this, you might want to drop that picture in. Bose Eichhardt was a slave he was an African first, born into slavery. And what happened, the slave owner brought him to Texas, and there he learned how to ride, take care of cattle, do all the things that young cowboys did. And in the process, what happened was he became a cowboy. They didn't call him that. They called him a slave. But anyhow, that was the first painting that I made. And after that, I was still tied up with my work, advertising work. I was working for General Dynamics in Pomona, California at the time, in their advertising department. And what happened was, I was satisfied with that painting, so later on I made another painting. And then I made another one. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, I had a series of 10 paintings of African cowboys. And in the process, one of my daughters, Gloria Ramona, talked to the people at the Museum of Science and Industry about putting on a show about the African cowboys. And they were interested. And at the same time, a friend of hers, who was a reporter for the LA Times, who had been asking his editor for weeks and days to write a story on me about the African cowboys. What happened was the editor said, okay, now this is all coming together at the same time as the art show was to appear at the Museum of Science and Industry in Exposition Park. Well, when the papers hit, when the LA Times came out with this article about the black cowboys, they called it, all of a sudden, all of the television stations and people like that wanted to know who this was, and they started coming. All of a sudden, I was snowed under by people coming to do interviews and write stories. And I'm still working 8 to 5. So, as you can imagine, it was getting a little confusing, but I don't know how I got so far off of the subject. Actually, the way things wound up was the show came off and was extremely successful because the LA Times had run it, and then they put it on the wire service and went across the country. And then they put it into the Los Angeles school newspapers. And the people at the museum were shocked because they were loaded with people coming, children coming from all the schools to see the exhibit. I started when I graduated from Art Center in 1954. And I thought that I was going to walk right out of there with a portfolio of advertising pieces and go right into an advertising agency or studio. But I was very quickly abused of this concept. I found that There were so many doors that were closed, it was ridiculous. But what I did manage to do was I got a job at Douglas Aircraft doing technical illustration. And it took me about 2 or 3 years doing that kind of work before I could actually get into the advertising field. But I did get in. Yes, all of my children were raised here in Pasadena. Tony was born here. Anthony. Sharon was born on Stanton Street here in Pasadena. Kimberly was born in Altadena. And Ricky, Ramona, and Rie were all born in Los Angeles at White Memorial Hospital, because we were in Los Angeles at the time. But they were all raised here. All went through elementary school, junior high school, and across the street at John Muir.